Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Samantha.
I am not saying welcome back. This isn't my YouTube channel. Okay, well, are you ready to record the podcast today?
I am ready to record the podcast at this time.
This was impromptu, so
Yeah.
it was very last minute.
Like, we knew that this episode was coming, but,
We just didn't know when.
yeah, and then I texted Sam, and I was like, when do we want to record this pregnancy update? And I gave her, like, time slots, and called me, and she was like, are you ready right now? It's like, I guess I can brush my hair.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet.
About you being pregnant?
I don't think so.
Oh, my gosh. I was just going to announce it. Do you want to announce it?
I'm pregnant. Thank you for taking the wheel, though.
Yeah, Sam's pregnant.
Maybe we have. I don't know.
I can't remember. It's all a blur. We have like too many like I always say something like spoons in the fire, pots in the fire, and you're always like, that's not a thing. Anyway,
we definitely didn't talk about it last season, and this might end up being the first episode.
Yeah,
of season 6.
I think.
Wild.
I know.
I can't believe it.
I know.
We really kept this thing going.
Well, it's shocking just because like neither of us conform to a schedule otherwise.
I know.
But this is the only thing where like unless we have a cancellation or like something beyond our control, we post an episode.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'd like a little recognition for that. Not from you guys or from you, but from myself. Good job, Alyssa.
When you said not from you guys, I was going to be like,
no.
Good job.
From myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
I gave myself a pat on the back of the head.
Yeah.
But it's a pat on the back that it's supposed to be. So
we're keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about today. So sorry if that doesn't interest you.
Yeah.
But
so,
hit me.
How far along are you?
I'm 20 weeks.
Oh my God.
I know.
Literally the last time I asked you that, I think you were 14.
Dude, it's fucking wild. So I'm like halfway now. 20 weeks, 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
The baby is the size of a grapefruit. It's grapefruit.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but it definitely feels the size of a grapefruit, and it feels like it's directly inside my vagina.
Do you still have that like pressure feeling?
Yes.
Like explain it.
It just feels like, so I was explaining to Alyssa, like when I have sex, it's really uncomfortable because like it feels like there's a fucking grapefruit like directly in my vagina, like not like a little way, no, like there, right there, hanging out. But yeah, it still feels that way. Like it feels so fucking low. And like I was reading, because on this my like pregnancy tracker app, it tells you like how big the baby is and then like what's going on developmentally and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, you should feel it right behind your belly button. And I was like, it's never even traveled that far north. Like just really not about it at all.
You're just carrying very low.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I wonder if like when you get like super pregnant, if you will be carrying low then too, or if it'll like
I don't know. I'm really curious, but it's also like so bizarre at this point. Like it feels like the pregnancy has gone by fairly fast, but also it's so odd to think that I have another like 4.5 months of this.
Yeah.
To sit through, because I already feel like pretty uncomfortable and I feel like my belly's pretty big and like I don't like having to stand. like just like needing to pee 42 times during the night. I'm like, oh my God. I have to like gear myself up to like stand up out of bed. So it's hard to imagine like getting even bigger than this, which of course I will. Like,
yeah,
obviously I have another fucking 18 to 20 weeks ahead.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like being witness to you being pregnant because, I mean, for a myriad of reasons, but in the beginning, it was like very apparent that you were pregnant, which is odd to me because like there's no like visual signs that you're pregnant, but you were like pretty sick, you know, you were super nauseous, you were super tired, like it was apparent that like, oh, you're growing a baby.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it was like you weren't pregnant anymore.
Yeah.
To me, do you know what I mean? Like, because you do wear like baggy sweaters. I don't generally feel like I'm sure that your belly feels so big to you, but like I don't, you know what I mean, see it. I'm just like, you look exactly the same to me. And so for a while there, I like forgot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I obviously didn't forget. We talk about it all the time, but it's kind of just like, oh yeah, like that was a thing that happened.
I know.
Like you were pregnant.
It does feel a little bit like that though, because like and I'm sure like later on, like once I've had a kid or two or whatever, then it won't probably feel this way. But like when it's like your first pregnancy, it's all consuming. Like it was all I thought about in the beginning, and it was like I was researching so much stuff and I felt like so much pressure, like I have to learn how to breastfeed and I can't even do it yet. Like I wanted to learn so much and I wanted to research so much and know everything about everything and whatever. And then I was so nauseous all the time, and like not like I want to clarify, I didn't have like extreme morning sickness. It was just like this constant like little lull of nausea that just was like more annoying than anything, but also just fucking perpetually tired. So I felt pregnant all the time, which I think made it like the front of my mind. And then when I entered into like the second trimester, everyone was like, it's the best, like you're gonna feel so great. And that was literally immediately, it was like the fog lifted. I was like, oh my god, I'm fucking human again.
Yeah.
And I felt so much more normal than I had been feeling. And so it was a lot easier to just focus on like other things, which I prefer. Like I think a lot of people like to like really revel in their pregnancy. I don't like that, because it just makes me panic.
Yeah.
Like, and worry that there's something wrong, or that I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not eating enough protein, or, you know, like I just don't want to like sit and stew about it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think like with anything, everyone's experience with something is different, and like feeling sick is subjective.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like how you want to be during your pregnancy is completely different.
Yeah.
You know, person to person. I don't know. It's so interesting for me to think about like me possibly being pregnant one day, and I'm like, gosh, what would I be like?
I'm so curious too. I'm so curious too.
Sam and I were talking the other day, and I was like, what if me being pregnant is the time where I'm just like, fuck this. Like, because usually if I'm in pain or something like that, like I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like I just am like, it's fine.
People from the outside like wouldn't probably know it.
Yeah. Like I just pretend that I'm fine, even though I'm like dying inside. But then something happened to me the other day. I don't know, but I think what like my uterus was like spasming or something like that. And it was like quite possibly the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And like I've fractured my back. I've actually had my lungs suctioned out from the inside. And this was more painful that I can recall. You know what I mean? So in that moment when I was like crouching on the bathroom floor, like pretty much in like a position you might give birth in if you were standing, I guess, I was like, I don't know that I could do this. Like, because there's absolutely no way that my uterus like spasming or whatever it was doing is even close to the pains of labor, you know?
Like I just don't see, but like this is the thing, like everyone that I've talked to about it or that I've heard explain it, they talk about it in a way where it's like, it's so painful that like you're in a different fucking place.
Yeah.
Which like, it's hard to fathom that, but like, I'm just hoping fucking Jesus take the wheel, man. Cause like I think I've mentioned on the podcast, I've obviously mentioned it to you, but like I'm terrified of giving birth. Cry about it frequently, but like I've had to just stop thinking about the premise of the fact like just that this child is going to be birthed from my loins. I'm like, I just can't. I just need to not even acknowledge that that's happening because I don't know. And I was our friend Christy just gave birth to her first little baby boy. He's perfect. But she was talking to me over this app, Marco Polo. It's kind of like Snapchat. And she was like breastfeeding, and she had her son like kind of like on her chest, and his head was so close to her head, and I was like, damn, that fucking head is big, man. Like that head went through my friend's vagina, like and it was just so hard to like visually look at and be like, her baby's also like a month old, but like it was just so hard to look at and be like, fuck, like that's gonna be what's coming through the fucking gates.
The gates?
Yeah, and not very much time at all.
Well, and that's the thing, like, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, I couldn't do it, good fucking luck, Sam.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting to me to experience that pain, because like
Well, because I think like with everything, with the fact that like I am pregnant, obviously you're going to relate it back to that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. But I just, gosh, I do think with you, this is like obviously me just like deciding in my head like how it's going to go. Just like maybe inappropriate, I don't know. But with you, I find that when you're in like extreme situations, like extreme stress or like extreme whatever that I've witnessed, you do go into this kind of like, we'll just figure it out. It's like there's no more like turmoil, there's no more like, oh my gosh, like stressing yourself out. It's just like it's so much that it's just like, we'll be fine, we'll get through it sort of thing. And I just wonder if that's kind of like the situation, if you're just going to be like,
I hope so, because it is usually the thought that's like far, except for the dentist, it is usually the thought of it that's way worse than like the actual thing happening. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I am like a little bitch for sure. Like I just don't like the pain. Like I just don't. Like I'm not someone that I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like I'm willing to go through. No, like I don't care for it. You know, like I don't know, but I'm hoping it'll be fucking gravy. Yeah. Hoping for the best, anticipating the worst.
We're like the miracle of childbirth, anticipating the worst.
I mean, I'm just trying to be fucking realistic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think, because, like, a lot of people have asked if I have, like, a birth plan and stuff. And I keep responding with, like, my plan is to give birth, because I know so many people get really attached to this idea of, like, exactly how they want to give birth and exactly what they want it to look like and feel like and all these kinds of things. Which, obviously, like, it's a very... it can be very traumatic, and like you never know what's going to happen. You never know if there's going to be like something last minute that goes wrong, or you need to change plans or whatever. And so the last thing I want is to like go into that situation and feel like not only scared because I'm doing this thing that's scary, nervous about the fact that inevitably like now I'm going to have a child that I have to actually care for, but then also like devastated that I'm not able to follow this birth plan that I had like been dead set on for 9 months, you know? I don't know. But what do you think you're going to be like pregnant? Do you think you're going to be like really confident in your body, or do you think where do you think you're going to be with that kind of stuff?
So I kind of struggle with talking about like my body, because this is what I want to say. I'm going to be so confident. My body's so powerful. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of things. That's what I want. That's what I appreciate in social media and all of these things, and the way that media is kind of trying to lean to go. But I do still struggle. Like I do still struggle with my like past, with not actively struggling with disordered eating, but like the fact that I know that it's there. You know what I mean? And like body image issues and stuff like that. So I would love to say that like I'm empowered in every shape and form that my body takes, but if I'm being completely honest, I do prefer my body when I feel strong and I'm being active and I'm eating foods that are fueling my body, sort of thing. And in that has resulted in a thinner body. And so I struggle with like the messaging behind that as well, because I don't want that to be a message that I'm like, you know what I mean? Like perpetuating sort of like diet culture or like over exercising or anything like that, because I do eat the way that I do, because honestly, if I don't, my stomach has been in pain for the last like 2 weeks basically right now, because I've been eating like for the holidays. And I do exercise to help my anxiety, but I would feel disingenuous if I didn't say that like the physical outcome of those actions didn't make me feel good also. Yeah, for sure. Right? So long-winded. I think I will struggle. I think I will struggle a little bit with like the way that my body changes. And I have this like weird thing where I don't like anything that's going to be different on my body for the rest of time. Like scars and stuff like that, I have a really hard time with. I don't know why, like what is attached to that. But even when I got my lipoma removed on my back, the reason I didn't want to get it removed was because I would have a scar. Yeah. Which absolutely changes nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's not the end of the world, but for some reason my brain attached to the fact that there was going to be something on my body for the rest of my life. Yeah. So those kind of things like do come up in my mind that I'll just like have to overcome. But I do think I'm going to be one of those people who's just like touching my belly all the time and like talking to my baby.
Like really sentimental.
Yeah. For sure. And I just wonder if that will overpower my like negative self-talk and like my body image issues and stuff like that, because I do like even the thought of having a baby in there, I'm just like, oh. And like I'm not concerned about my belly getting big. I'm not you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't like it when my body changes really at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't know. I will just have to take it as it comes. But how did you cope with, like, were you like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'd like change that body? Or was it something that you had to be like, oh my goodness?
Ugh, this is like such a weird, I haven't seen my therapist in a while. I feel like I need to preface this whole like what's about to come here. And it's hard to like talk about, because I think that there's this idea that like when you're pregnant, you should feel really powerful and you should feel really grateful and you should feel beautiful and you should look at other pregnant women and think they look beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, of course, like, yeah, I want to feel that way. But I felt really the opposite. I thought that I was going to feel really, really confident in my body. I've never been super confident in my body, not to the point where I let it like ruin my life, but you know, it's just, I don't feel like 100% all the time. And like my stomach was always one thing that I really, really always felt self-conscious about, because that's kind of where I gain weight, first. And so a lot of people have said that like they feel their best during pregnancy. And I thought that that would be similar for me, because like, almost because like, I think that in my mind, it would justify me having a belly, you know, like I'm like, well, I'm pregnant now. So that's why like I have this belly, and it's not anything to feel embarrassed about. Not that like additional weight on any part of your body is something to feel embarrassed about, but right. I don't know. I think that like I felt like that was going to be something that would be really like empowering for me. And I felt quite the opposite. Yeah. Like I really haven't felt that great about my body. I think for the first little bit when my belly was starting to grow, I felt bloated, and I didn't feel like I looked like cute and pregnant. I looked just like I was bloated and like gaining weight kind of thing. And I oddly, like in the past few weeks, I haven't gained weight at all. I gained all the weight in like the first like few weeks kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And now it's like really slowed down and my weight's like barely fluctuating. And so, yeah, I don't know. I thought that I was going to feel a lot better. But as my belly's getting a little bit bigger, I'm starting to feel a little bit more like, okay, yeah, like I'm pregnant. I'm not just gaining weight. But I find it really odd how I perceive pregnant women now.
In what way?
Like, so at the beginning of like my pregnancy, Christy, our friend, was pregnant, and then also this like other influencer that we follow, Desi, was pregnant, and both of them, like, I mean, Christy is like a very dear friend, and like I was just like, it was like a miracle child also. Yeah. I think that's like worth mentioning, because she had been infertile for a really long time. They ended up getting pregnant naturally, like out of nowhere kind of thing. And so I was like so happy for her, and like I looked at her photos and I was like, oh my God, like she's so beautiful, she's so radiant, she's so glowing, because like I felt so happy for her, and I just felt like, oh, she's at that point in her life where she's like ready to be a mom. And then same thing with Desi, when I was looking at her kind of journey, because she also struggled with infertility, and then she's like just stunning as is anyways, but she really, you know, like she makes anything fucking look glamorous.
Yeah, Desi's like a different kind of glam, man. Like, yeah. She's got that aesthetic.
Yeah, and you could tell that, you know, this was something that she had wanted for so long, and it was so important to her, and she was wanting to kind of like memorialize that through photos. And so all the photos were like so beautiful. I think that part of it is that I feel too young to be having a kid, even though that's obviously not the case. Yeah. And there's like,
we're like almost 28.
I know. I'm like, when, because like it said on this one sheet, I can't remember what I was going in for, maybe like an ultrasound or something, but it said like age at time of birth, like labor or whatever, and it said 28, and I was like, how fucking dare they? That's presumptive. Wow. Like
presumptive that I'll age.
Yeah. And I was like, oh damn, like I kind of didn't realize I was gonna be fucking 28 when this shit was going down. But yeah. But I'm not too young. It's not that I'm like not ready, so to speak, but it's just like this weird perception of like how young I feel and not feeling like I should look like a mom, I guess. I don't know, but now because I am not loving like how my body looks and stuff, I was trying to find I was on fucking Kim Kardashian's website, Skims.
Oh yeah.
Because she has like maternity wear. And so I've been waiting for this shit to come back in stock, but my Gmail like automatically filters out anything that's like,
Oh, that's so annoying.
so I keep saying like, notify me when you restock, but then I never fucking get a notification because it filters it out. So I have to just keep checking back on the website. Anyways, and I was looking at these like photos of women that are pregnant, and I was like, I don't like this. Like, it was just so odd. Like, I just felt so like just like such a weird reaction to this imagery of pregnant women. And I was looking on other websites, like maternity websites, and I don't want anyone to like take me the wrong way. Like, of course I think everyone's beautiful. I don't like judge other people's bodies, but I think it's just because like I feel so not in like my right like mindset and like body right now that like it's hard for me to then see other women being pregnant when I felt so like, oh my God, like I can't wait till I'm taking photos like that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I never want to fucking take photos pregnant. Like, I don't want, you know, like, and I know I will want these memories. So like, I'm trying to like take photos anyways kind of thing. But it's just, I don't know. It's such a weird place to be in.
But here's kind of what I'm thinking now. I just wonder, because we grew up in a small town and we did have quite a few like teen moms and stuff like that in our high school. And the society around us in our small town looked very poorly on teen moms.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like judgment and negativity surrounding that, surrounding these, you know, people who are taking on a really hard thing at a young age. You know what I mean? And I just wonder if that lends to it at all, to your thought of like, I'm too young and I don't look like a mom. I shouldn't, you know, are people judging me? Do I, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things, because in reality, I would highly I don't think anybody would look at you pregnant and be like, how irresponsible. You know, like this 27-year-old married, like, you know what I mean? And not that there needs to be like
judgment on anyone.
Right? But you know, societal norms in the past for giving birth are like, you're married, you have a house, you're old enough. What is old enough? Don't know. But you know what I mean? So I just wonder if there was like outside kind of slow trickle judgments that were coming into your brain that are like kind of manifesting now that you're pregnant and feeling like a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. Like, I think that's, because like I do feel like I'll put on certain clothes and I'm like, oh, I can't wear this. Like, I look like I'm like trying to be like a teenager when I'm clearly fucking pregnant. Like, it's, I don't know. I do think that's kind of like part of it, but it's just, it's odd. And like, I might have felt differently if I felt really, really connected to like my baby. And I know that there's some people that really do, like they just feel super like in tune and they, you know, I don't know, like it's like they have that connection already kind of thing. I don't feel that way yet. So I think, which is interesting too. I mean, the thing about like pregnancy and like motherhood, it's incredible how much stigma there is around absolutely every aspect of it. Like how you should feel, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what you should look like, how much weight you should gain. Like, you know, every single choice and every single emotion that goes into it, there's some kind of stigma around it and someone telling you how it should be kind of thing. So I'm like hesitant to talk about some of this stuff, but at the same time, it's like, it just sucks because I know I'm not the only person. Like, I know I'm not the only person that's not connected to my, like, unborn child. And I know I'm not the only person that doesn't feel more confident pregnant rather than not. And, but so why? So why are we, like, so scared to talk about it? And why do we still, you know, because, like, if you are connected to your baby, great. Like, that's fantastic for you. If you're not, do I think you're a bad mother for it? No, of course not.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't make me a bad mom, but it's just like that continual, like, you feeling kind of shitty, then you feeling guilty for feeling shitty about that thing, and feeling like, oh, well, I should feel like this. But I don't know. I think that if I felt really, really connected to my baby, I might feel more like this, like, pregnant, glowing mom.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what I don't want to boil everything down to the media, but I do feel like that's what we're fed by.
It is the fucking media and the patriarchy.
But I said that yesterday, like, not jokingly. I was like, it's the patriarchy.
I'm never joking.
Yeah. I was having I can't remember what it was about, but I was having a conversation with my boyfriend. He was posing a specific thing, and I was like, yes, the patriarchy. And he was like, oh, interesting. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I do think it's what we were told and fed by the media and by, you know, film and television and stuff like that, is these women, you know, or people who are carrying children look a certain way, they act a certain way. And I do agree that things are changing very slowly and maybe a little bit subtly. But I do think that now that we're kind of taking
the reins.
Yeah, we're taking back media via social media. I think that there's more voices that are entering the chat, which is really great. And Sarah, the Bird's Papaya, is also pregnant right now, and looking at her content and stuff is like really useful for me as well, and like,
yeah,
you know, resonates with me because she is honest and authentic in, you know, what I believe. That's how I see it. And I think that it is so important to talk about your authentic journey if you so choose, because if we're only fed like, you're going to have glowing skin, you're going to be powerful, you're going to feel powerful,
yeah,
you're going to look beautiful or feel beautiful, do you know what I mean? Like, you can see where I'm going with this. It's like, but you might not. And that's okay too. And the only reason, in my opinion, that we don't feel like it's okay is because we're fed, I'm supposed to be X, Y, and Z, but I'm not. And so I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating for me being like newer on the internet to feel a certain way and then get attacked for it when it's not outwardly like harmful. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's things that are true for me, and I'm saying this is true for me, and it's like, well, but that's not okay. And it's like, but why? But it's true for me though. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you should feel this way or whatever, but it's like, otherwise I'm going to be feeding you a lie, like film and television, like the media. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't like that. I want to hear from people like you.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is like, we need to hear different perspectives to feel more normalized in what we're going through. And I think that it's kind of this catch-22, because, you know, something that I found kind of interesting, and I wasn't anticipating this, was that there was actually quite a few people that reached out to me really upset that I had like announced my pregnancy, because they were struggling with infertility issues. And so they were like, you know, it's just hard, and it's frustrating to see, and it's frustrating to watch. And then you seem so flippant about it. And like, I'm, you know, like, just like dying to have a child and to do this with like my partner and whatever. And, you know, like, of course I feel for people that struggle with infertility. Like, and now, especially because I'm pregnant, I can't imagine wanting that so badly and not being able to do that, and feeling like so frustrated with your body, and, you know, and how your partner feels, and all that stuff. And it's expensive to pursue, you know, other options if you do struggle with infertility. So I do have, you know, so much care for those people, but at the same time, like, it's really hard, because if those people did get pregnant, I just don't think that they wouldn't talk about it eventually, you know, out of respect for other people that are dealing with infertility issues. So it's hard, you know. I've said before, like, I don't like people seeing my reactions to things, because a lot of the times my reaction isn't what people would assume someone's reaction would be, I guess. Right. And so, you know, like, I am more kind of like deadpan just in general in life. I'm not like super excitable. I don't like really react particularly emotionally to most things, and I do see things kind of like in a more like balanced way, I guess. And so, you know, like it's hard, like when people are like, you're so flippant about your pregnancy, like you don't even care, like you're not even appreciative, you're not like grateful, you're not whatever. It's like, but that's not true. Like I just don't, you know, like it just doesn't look the same on me as it might look on you, or it might look on someone else or whatever.
Well, and also it, not to interrupt you, but it might not look the same to a viewer as it does to you and your husband together.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like you don't owe anyone the intimate moments that you and like your husband share, like you and, you know, the future auntie of your child or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is how I feel too, is I think that there are so many ways that we can be respectful of people who aren't as able as us in like every category. Like posting it in the thumbnail or posting the title and not like catching people off guard with certain things that might be, you know, triggering or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that it's within our right to also be able to be joyful about these moments in our lives. So being respectful,
and be genuine about your experience as well.
Yeah. By joyful, I mean like by being able to like share it, you know, joyful in your own way, because I do think that you are joyful, but you're joyful in your own way. And I think what I've come to realize from you over the years is, because it's so odd to me when you bring up things from like years and years ago that I'm like, that didn't even like resonate that you cared about that. like when I reached back out to you when we were in a fight and you and your boyfriend had broken up, and you've brought that up, and I'm like, it didn't even like register to me that was so important to you. So I think that you internalize the feelings a lot and like hold on to them and cherish them within yourself. You just don't express them, which is like fine. Nobody's owed your expression.
Well, and I definitely like, because someone also said to me, I bitched about this a million times already, but not on the podcast, so I'm going to. I was on a YouTube Live and someone said that they were like, I know you're not going to be a loving mother, but I know you'll be kind and just. And like the loving thing is something that's so weird, because every video that I've ever posted with Matt, people are like, you're so mean to him, you're so rude, you're so like, you know, and even like with you on the podcast, because like, Alyssa's quite emotional, obviously. And, you know, there's been people that are like, you're so rude to her. Like, you know, she's like just emotional and sentiment, like whatever. And it's interesting because I don't feel like I show my love in a particularly like it's not super apparent, I guess, like to outside people, I think. And like I hope that obviously like you feel loved by me and Matt feels loved by me and you know, like my family and my friends and stuff like that, but like it's not, I don't showcase it the way that maybe it's like it's like traditionally portrayed in media. And it's just such a weird thing to have people be like, well, then you don't feel that, clearly. Like you're obviously not going to be a loving mother because I see that you're not a loving person, when it's like there's so many ways to express love and to show love to someone else. It reminds me, so I read this book by Malcolm Gladwell called Talking to Strangers. And Alyssa like doesn't have to read the book at this point because I've like literally verbatim told her every single thing that's in it. But there's this is gonna seem really unrelated. Okay. But they talk about people who are going through like court trials and stuff like that, like for murder and different stuff like this. And that a lot of the times, you know, our perception of guilt or whatever is what kind of shapes, you know, the jury's opinion or the judge's opinion or whomever's as to whether or not that person's guilty for something.
Right. Because
like if you murdered this person, then you should be sad, you should be remorseful, you should be this, and if you're not, then clearly you're guilty. And so it's kind of interesting because that whole book talks about basically like our perception of strangers' reactions and how that lends to our
like story of them?
Yeah, like our story of them and our belief around what, you know, is true for that person or whatever. And so he goes into like all of these different examples, like even like, you know, a guy approaching a woman in a bar, and the fact that like if that guy's drinking, then his perception of you might be skewed based on the fact that he's drinking. And not that that makes like anything okay, if you see where I'm going with this.
Right.
But, you know, like a guy having a perception that like maybe you're interested in him when you're not. There's just so many different little, it's such a good book. You guys should definitely read it. I like love that book. I want to reread it now that I'm thinking about it. But it reminds me of how this experience of pregnancy has been, because there's just so many people that feel like I'm not reacting how I should be reacting, and I'm not, and thinking that I'm not grateful, or thinking that I don't care, or that like, I'm not going to be a good mom or whatever. And it's just such a weird thing because, yeah, like you don't know obviously what my life looks like behind closed doors, and you don't know how I really feel, because unless I'm telling you explicitly that I don't care, like, then how could you possibly conclude that,
Well, and what a hurtful thing to say in general anyway, that you're not going to be a loving mother.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me because I wouldn't generally say to a friend, you're not going to be a loving mother. So you don't see me as a friend. So why would you expect that I would be showcasing to you my feelings the way I would to a friend?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because what we put onto the internet, we try to be authentic, and we try to be as like forthcoming as we're comfortable with being. But at the end of the day, we have to recognize that what we're putting out is being put out to the masses, whatever the masses are, right? At least thousands of people. And so it's not going to be identical to the way that you and I communicate, or you and another friend communicates, or your expression maybe, right? And that's it's not that you're not being authentic, but in minute ways, you do have to be calculated to be respectful and respectful and appropriate is what I was going to say, right? And I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about that, but it was just like an interesting thing that I was just thinking.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like for me, as time has gone on, like the longer that I've been doing this as a career, the more that I'm pretty open about a lot of things, but there's like, it is like those like private moments that I'm like, I don't want to share this, because I think like at one point a friend said to me, she was like, you have to think about what kind of ammunition you're giving people. And that really stuck with me, because it's true. Like, do I care about people, making fun of how my makeup looks? I fucking really don't. Like, but do I care about people making fun of something about my wedding or something about my child, or, like, yeah, that bothers me significantly more. So it is like being calculated in the sense of, what am I giving people to talk about?
Yeah.
And am I going to be okay with them talking about this thing? And so this is kind of like, like I always get stuck in this kind of like push-pull within myself of wanting to talk about things, because I do have this platform and I want to normalize stuff for people, and I want people to feel okay. And especially because it has felt really ostracizing being pregnant and reading like the shit that these books say. It's so like archaic. It's just not even funny. Like, it's incredible how so many websites and so many books, like all these resources about pregnancy, talk down to pregnant women.
Oh, really?
And about, yes, oh my God, it's incredible. Like just saying, like, there was this one example of I got this book that I thought was going to be kind of like more in line with like what I would need for my pregnancy journey, and it was like talking about like mindfulness and yoga and stuff like that. And there was like a section about nutrition, and one of the things was like it was like this little like this bubble at the bottom, and it was like, if you're hungry ... and it was like, ask yourself, am I actually hungry? Ask yourself, like, does what I'm eating serve me and my child? Ask yourself, am I emotional or am I whatever? And it's like all of these kind of things that it's like, why, of all the fucking fish to fry, I don't think that that's like the thing that's the most important to focus on. Like, when you feel hungry, asking yourself if you're actually hungry during pregnancy. Like,
yeah,
it's just, it's things like that. And then there was this other book that was talking about like food choices and stuff like that, and saying something like make the best decision for your child. Don't make the best decision for like what your heart wants at the time and stuff like that, which is like, yeah, of course, like I'm not going to go fucking binge drinking because that's what my heart wants. But like, it's in every single little aspect, again, just reinforcing this idea of how you should be behaving and how you should be feeling and reacting. And I don't know, like, it's just, so I struggle with like wanting to counter that and be like, no, it's okay to not feel this way, and it's okay to like not to eat when you're hungry, and instead of like sitting and giving yourself a line of questioning about it and feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of like, well, but also it's like can be detrimental to my mental health to talk about these things, because then I am giving that ammunition, and I am letting people in, and I'm allowing them, you know, to basically take part in the discussion, because once it's out there, people feel like, well, I can fucking respond.
Right.
So, because you put it out there. So I don't know. It's just, it's weird. It's like a weird thing that I always am back and forth on.
I feel like the important thing there from me hearing that is like the messaging behind it. Because to me, I agree. Like I mean, it's hard for me to talk about. I'm not pregnant. But if I was pregnant, I would want to make like good, obviously you do too. I would want to make good decisions for what I'm putting in my body for my child to grow.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't mean I'm not going to eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like weird that you put that in there. You know, like, do I want to subsist off of like donuts and cake the whole time and only that, and not eat a vegetable and stuff like that? No, of course not. I don't want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But like, why are you putting that in such a generalized like bubble?
Well, and I also think that like anybody that's even talked about pregnancy or heard pregnancy, you know, generally there's things that you're not supposed to be doing. It's no secret. Like so not that it goes without saying, because of course people want to know like what they should and shouldn't be doing, but there's just certain things where I'm like, does this need to be said? Because like clearly I'm sitting here reading these resources. I'm reading a book about nutrition. So obviously like I'm trying to gain that information. So do I need this like sideline of you being like, you know, just do what's best for you and your baby? That's what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. I don't even need you to comment on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that like, I think that's what doctors are for. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if it was actually concerning to your doctor, then they would, you know, they would say so probably in the beginning, right? Like if they have a history of you and your like health and whatever, you could kind of like see, okay, here's some areas that we're going to have to focus on. Like you being vegetarian.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was like something that was brought up at some point, like, let's try and get some more protein in there.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I just don't know that like having like a general thing, like, you know, don't eat when you're fucking hungry. Like,
yeah.
What?
But I think also, I mean, I will stop harping on it, but it's like, it just reinforces this idea that like we should feel guilty about being hungry, or that we should be questioning that. And it's just like, I just hate shit like that. So, I mean, basically every single thing that I've read, except for this one singular book called Like a Mother by Angela Garps, every single thing that I've read, it starts out like, do what's best for you, like, you know best, blah, blah, blah. And then it is at some point infiltrated with the same message of like, but I'm judging you a little bit though. Like, yeah. I've kind of got some feelings about this. Like, it's like, you're not just delivering this information, you're delivering it with like, you know, a serving of what the fuck is wrong with you if you aren't following this advice kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Things, I think, yeah, like social media, like people like Sarah, it is like a really helpful resource to have. And I kind of can't imagine like having been pregnant before this era.
Yeah.
Because like being able to read blogs, being able to watch YouTube videos, being able to follow people on Instagram and stuff like that talk about these kinds of things, it is really helpful. And it's, you know, like you can learn about so many products and feelings and like the whole process and the whole journey. Like just being able to hear other people's experiences, I think, is really helpful.
When my grandma was pregnant, ultrasounds weren't a thing. She told me that the other day.
That is so wild.
What? Because I was saying like, because I was talking, she was asking how you were feeling. And I was like, it's so weird to me to think about being pregnant because I need to know everything like every day. Like, what's the update? I was like, I can't imagine going like for so long without another ultrasound. And she was like, oh yeah, well, when I was pregnant, there just weren't ultrasounds. And I was like, excuse me.
That's so bizarre, man. I wouldn't have thought about that. But I mean, it's true. Like you literally feel like nobody's fucking like all the time. I'm like, does nobody want to know what's going on here? Like, does nobody have any questions about what's taking place? Should we double check that everything's okay? I don't know. Like, because it feels like in the first and second trimester, you virtually have no fucking appointments.
Yeah.
Like, you have one ultrasound in the first trimester. I think you have one ultrasound in the second trimester. That's all I have booked so far.
Yeah.
Like, based on like what my doctors and midwives want from me. It's just so odd. I've met with my midwife once.
Yeah.
That's also partially because of COVID, but
Yeah.
like, they don't really fucking meet with you until the last leg of the race.
Yeah.
And then you're fucking in there all the time.
It's so like cool, but also like weird to think that there's like a human in you.
I know.
Like, just as an aside, like, I knew that this was happening around the world my entire life, but like now that there's like
It's there.
there's a human inside there,
I know.
and like it has like fingers and toes and
That's
like
fucked up, man. It's
lips. It has lips.
yeah. Like, it's when I read like same thing, like the little pregnancy updates on my tracker thing. It's when it says the things that the baby's doing, like it can grab tightly onto its umbilical cord. It can yawn. It can like start sucking its thumb at this point. It can hear your voice, like whatever. What the fuck? Like, that's the shit that's so weird to me. It's odd to think about it doing human things.
Yeah.
I guess. Like, that's just what's like the most bizarre ever to me.
Yeah, and it's gonna come out and it's going to be a human.
I know.
Like, it's gonna move and like cry and
yeah. And poop, I've heard.
yeah, sometimes.
Did
times.
I tell you about how babies are drinking their pee? I'm pretty sure I did.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. I really like to like give Alyssa all the horror stories, but babies drink their pee.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
In the sack, right? In
that sack. Yeah, because they're like peeing into the amniotic fluid and swallowing the amniotic fluid. I just thought that all that shit would be fucking carried elsewhere.
Yeah, like where?
I don't know. Like, I guess I'm taking care of it. I'll get rid of that pee for you or something. Like, let's not get to the point where you're needing to like drink, bodily fluids about it.
It's just so like odd that like, as somebody who knows very little about pregnancy and science, it's so odd to me that like humans can live without air, with, you know what I mean, until they come out. It's like, this is some Matrix shit.
Dude, it's bizarre. Like, the more I read about pregnancy, the more I'm like, my mind is, it is like the most bizarre fucking thing ever. And it also is odd because like a lot of people are obviously like very panicked about doing the right thing and making sure that whatever, but it's like, I mean, worlds over, people in very different circumstances are having healthy children.
Yes.
It's just so odd that your body just does it. It's just doing it.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah.
And I'm just chilling.
Do you have anything else you want to say about being pregnant? We really didn't talk about like your like symptoms or anything like that much, but I feel like we had a deeper discussion.
Is it that interesting though? Like, I don't know that people care or that I care.
Okay, you caring, sure, but I feel like I care. Like,
not that I don't care about the fact that I am pregnant, like more so just that like I don't think it's that interesting to
talk about your nausea and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, thanks for sharing with us.
Anytime.
Yeah, and I can't wait to meet baby.
I can't wait. Well, I can. It's I just don't know.
It's like a double-edged thing.
Yeah, it's like I want it to be here, but then at the same time, it's like, but then no turning back.
No taxies back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, then you got to start fucking diapering.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I actually want to, because I have my babysitting license. Okay.
Thank God.
But I got it when I was 12. But like,
wait, you don't have to renew that shit? That's a fucking one time. For sure, that was some out of date information by this point.
What do you mean? Well, maybe
to
babysit, you just need to know how to like put on a fucking diaper. Have they changed how you put on diapers in the last 10 years?
They fucking might have.
I'm 27. I'm not 22. Last 15
It's a fucking
years.
cold, bitter realization, isn't it?
Anyway, I wanted to buy like a little baby, like a fake baby, like a doll. So I was with Sam and I was like, let's buy this so that we can practice putting on diapers. It's been a fucking minute since I put on a diaper, man. Like,
Yeah.
So I wanted to do this. So I don't know. Maybe we do that. Maybe we take like a class together. I had to take the babysitting course for this one family that I babysat for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they specified that they wanted somebody who had gone through the babysitting course, so I took it.
That's fair.
Yeah, which was, I learned stuff, but I had been babysitting for like years before that.
It's crazy to me that I used to babysit as much as I did.
Yeah.
I babysat a fucking lot, man.
You babysat way more than I did.
It's so odd because like that seems like a period of my life that I just don't even recall.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, guys.
No. I'll sign
No, okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
That's it. I guess I wasn't going to do
that was quite the sign off. That was worth it.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right. Bye. Oh, the sides of my head are so sweaty.